Welcome to Your Nonprofit Power. I'm Amy Fazio, and we talk about everything nonprofit leadership. Using my system, the Magnify Your Mission system, we help nonprofit pros cut through the busy work so they can focus on the real needle movers to move their mission forward without the burnout. I am thrilled to welcome my friend, my colleague, Andrea Gung, to the show today. I'm going to be bringing her on stage in a moment. Andrea is running a global nonprofit to end a brutal practice that where we can really help save dogs and cats. So the global nature of her work, the urgency of her work, I had to absolutely invite her onto the show to talk with us about her secret sauce and how she keeps people from all over the world focused, educated, and engaged. Um, I'm thrilled to learn more from her every time I get to talk with her. So come on in, Andrea.
Hi, Amy. Good to see you. And
Welcome.
I'm with Dodo, our mascot.
The OG duo the OG.
Yeah, I named our nonprofit Dodo project after her because I rescued her from the a butcher's knife right before the butcher's was going to kill her and cooked her and eat her. So she inspired me to start this nonprofit.
Duo is the namesake of the
Yes,
organization, and so you met Duo originally in China.
yes. When I was on a business trip there, and through her, I learned about this terrible dog meat trade, dog and cat meat trade. So that's when I came back and started doing the nonprofit.
Well, first of all, she's precious. I mean, I'd be hard pressed to find a cuter mascot. In fact, I'd like to see the pictures. If anybody has a mascot of their own, I'm gonna need to I'm gonna need to adopt Duo as my mascot. She's amazing, and what a lucky girl to find such an amazing home with you. So this was obviously roughly 10 years ago, or maybe a little longer, because you're celebrating 10 years with Duo, having
Yes,
founded it.
yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's been smooth and easy the whole time. Is that right?
Yes,
I thought
yes.
so.
I think most leader in the nonprofit will know it's a struggle, right? I mean, it's a struggle, but it's also fulfilling, right? And that's how we decided to go into nonprofit to start our mission. So working on our mission, I think I'm like most of the leaders in nonprofit. We feel lucky. I feel lucky that we found our calling to do this. So make our lives more meaningful, and it's not easy. So I needed help that desperately because we've been running around like chicken with the head cut off every day. Eventually it's not sustainable. That's why I learned about you, and that's why I joined your team.
Yeah, Andrea, we've been working together for a while, over a year, and I think what drew us together was this notion of creating a movement to drive change, to engage people from all walks of life, from all over that have a common passion to make a difference. So I'm excited. I think that's sort of what our original draw to each other was this we can do this together. We can bring people in to make change.
I think another appeal, the bigger appealing point to me is when you mentioned that um, it fundraising is hard but doesn't have to be difficult or something,
Mm.
and then you say, you keep saying simple, the key word is simple, and I am a simple minded person. I love simple things. So I decided to see how can anybody make this hard difficult thing simple.
Yeah, changing the world is hard and changing hearts and minds, which is exactly what you're doing. Andre, can you tell us a little bit about the organization and the mission? You're celebrating 10 years. How is it you're going about your work of ending the dog and cat meat trade in China?
um I think some of you might already know there's a part of Asia that people eat dogs and cats as a delicacy, not because they're poor or hungry. And most of those dogs and cats trapped in the trade are stolen from either from the street or from people's backyard. So when I learned about this, I was blown away because my love for dogs and cats is just so big that decided I cannot walk away because I think Martin Luther King has some kind of quote that I always remember, that if you choose to be quiet about something that you care about, the rest of your life is meaningless or something. I probably got it wrong, but that's always my philosophy to live my life. So when I learned about this dog and cat eating practice, I was just like, good God, I have to do something. I cannot walk away from this. That's how I started Door Door Project 10 years ago. And I was a little bit naive. I didn't know. I never worked in nonprofit, so I didn't know how hard it could be. Yeah.
Well, we're grateful for your naivete, because if we weren't naive or ambitious or idealistic at certain points in our life, I like to say we might never get out of bed. I'm grateful for our quote unquote naivete in driving this vision forward. I have to admit, when we first met, and we've been working in strategic planning and fundraising mostly. It's intimidating. It's a big call. It's a big vision to go into some really long historic traditions in areas of the world I'm not very familiar with. And uh, how do you bring people's attention and focus to such a specific, zeroed in passion, like saving these dogs and cats in China in this particular situation? Can you tell us about the field? You said it's practice still, but in small pockets. How many animals, in your best estimation, does this affect every year? Do you have a sense of that?
Yeah, our mission, our job focus in China, even though in Korea, Vietnam, Philippines, Indonesia, they still have the same practice, eating dog meat. In China, it's estimated at least 10 million dogs and 4 million cats are butchered for meat illegally every year. That's very conservative estimate because the whole trade is illegal. So there's really not a reliable numbers for us to go by, but estimated at least 10 million and 4 million cats, 10 million dogs and 4 million cats.
Yeah. And June is a big month for you coming up, right? Not only are you celebrating 10 years of fighting this awful tradition, meaning not celebrating that it's 10 years later and you're still fighting, but that you're able to really capture the voice of millions and millions of people who are just as passionate about ending this practice. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But June is a big month for the mission and for the industry, because there's a festival that you like to educate folks that exist and hope tear down eventually. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, every year in June there's infamous Yulin Dog Meat Festival going on, and every year. So since I learned about this, and they started about 10 years ago, right about the time
I
Dodo
see.
started. So ever since then, we have been working on trying to end this festival, and not just a festival, because if the festival is stopped, people still like to eat dogs and cats, and they will still go underground to fund it, right? And the festival is just one day, but the fact is, throughout the year, people eat dogs pretty much every day. So festival just be for them to eat more. But it's a symbolic. So we have been working very hard try to stop this terrible festival.
Yeah, I think the first step is really just educating people that this is happening, and then the second piece is there's something we can do about it. How do you talk a little bit about the nuts and bolts of what you do and how you work with folks on the ground? There's so much to this mission. And I mean, I just continue to learn more and more about animal welfare, about politics, about people, about culture. I mean, the depth and breadth of all that you cover in this quite simple mission of ending this awful trade um, is nuanced. I mean, it's challenging and it's difficult. What are your objectives? What is how do you help people in China to mobilize and to take action against this? How is your mission unfolding right now?
Um, First of all, in a nutshell, we're doing this by organizing a broad coalition of activists from around the world and on the ground in China. So very when we first started, I brought in all the things I learned from being activists in America, protest, and petitions and stuff. Then I realized because China and USA are two different, very different countries culturally and politically. So what we learned, what I've been doing here really don't work there. So I think the key point for me to learn from the 10 years journey is to do a global movement. The number one thing is you have to be humble. You have to be willing to listen and learn from local activists to be effective. So I have been to Yuling 16 times in the last 10 years. Not my favorite city to go, but I went there many times because I want to learn. I want to learn from their people how we can take care of this terrible thing. And then when I was in China, I talked to a lot of people from all walks of life, lawyers, governmental officials, and scholars, and even dog eaters, right? So that's how I learned what's the most effective way. And at the end of the day, I learned even though it takes a long time, but I just have to accept the fact that only through education to change hearts and minds to be able to end this terrible practice completely.
Mm. Yeah, that patience piece can be really difficult when the issue is so urgent and so close to your heart.
Yeah.
I know that's true for you, for all of us, of course, as we learn about it. That's a powerful statement, Andrea. I have to say it's taking me a minute. To be humble is such a powerful lesson, for that to rise to the top. So you're changing hearts and minds, and you're doing it through, in some sense, a social movement structure, which I would call a very loosely organized structure with clear messaging that keeps people focused and on the same team and on board, but that they're loosely organized on the ground because of the nature of what you're doing. You're working in a country that doesn't really welcome U.S. help, that isn't interested in U.S. money for their charities, who has made it clear that our presence isn't invited, in every sense. And we know by watching the news every day that's getting more and more, to be true. So, how are you connecting with your activists on the ground? And can you give us an example of how you're able to be responsive and nimble in your work?
Yeah, you say the keyword nimble. One thing I'm so proud of my nonprofit Door project is we're nimble, we're small, we're nimble, but we're lean and mean. We respond very fast. So we don't have to go through bureaucracy to get anything approved. And we do things not to get publicity. We do things because they are effective. So you asked me how we work with local activists. It's a challenging because we have to keep a lot of things uh, under the radar. Now, to keep things under the radar, we cannot really talk about it here. When we raise money, there's so many great material we can use to raise more money here, but we choose not to because they will hurt our people in China. So that's a very challenging thing for us to deal with. So I prioritize, like you said, ruthless prioritize. So I prioritize the safety of our team in China is number one thing. Yeah, we want to get something faster, but to protect our people is important. So I protect them and I trust them. I follow their lead. So through the years, they trust me and they understand that whatever they do, whatever they tell me, I will not share with people that will hurt them. So we have built this big trust between me and our team in China. So
Mm.
I think that's what makes Dodo very successful, and we have achieved a lot of milestones in the last 10 years, all because of trust.
Yeah, you've built the trust, and as Kelly's pointing out, because you're lean, mean, and nimble, that trust is easier to build because you're able to deliver the support and the guidance or the resources that are needed. One of the victories that I've been good to have Kelly on the line and Priscilla is cheering us on to talking about what important work this is. So thank you.
Thank you.
Um, Oh my gosh, Andrea, it is really important work, and being lean and nimble. We talked about an example of how you were able to come up with a very quick response when it was reported to you. You received word of an opportunity in China at an airport where there was evidence of dog meat. Can you talk to us about that example of how you were able to respond quickly?
Yeah, one of our team member was traveling, and when he stopped over in this airport, which is close to a manufacturer dog meat in that city, and he saw those really nicely packaged dog meat was sold in the gift shop in the restaurant. I mean, in the airport, not a small dinky airport. It's pretty major airport. So he told me, and right away, of course, I was so pissed. And then I reached out to our team in China, and I said, let's do something about it. Very quickly, we decided to hire a lawyer to sue the airport, to sue the city. We came up with things to do, even though we know suing them is can be useless, can end up wasting money. But it's a symbolic, and we want to keep our enemies on their toes, knowing that we're watching them. When we catch them, there's something we will do. So that's very, very important. And that again give the example of how effective we are, because they tell me, and I make decision. Boom, the thing started. I don't need to. We don't have to go through layers and permission to do this. And we cannot talk about it. We cannot publicize in American major social media. Hey, we're suing this place. We're suing that. We cannot talk about it. But it's something we will have to do.
Well, again, it's just so interesting. You're trying to bring light to this issue. That is your main strategy. Is one, put a spotlight on it so that you expose it, and at the same time, you're dealing with such unique political and geographic, socioeconomic issues that are putting people's lives at stake, and also slows you down in the sense of what you can talk about and what you can share. I know you've talked about the importance of being a thoughtful leader in the sense that, well, we want to be honest that this tradition continues in China, that it's not pervasive. It's way too broad, but it doesn't define the Chinese people. And we know in this era of Asian hate, we have to be really thoughtful about how we present these issues and topics. Do you have any thoughts about your experience in that sense and the decisions you've made in your messaging?
Yes, that's one of the things we try to educate people outside of China too, because it's only about 2 or 3% of Chinese population who have this habit of eating dogs and cats. Yeah, I know even 2% is a lot of population in China, but you have to think about 98% of people don't eat dogs and cats. So the stereotype of all Chinese eat dogs and cats is wrong. And one of our job is to let people know. So because I sometimes I wish I can bring everybody to meet our team in China, because meeting our team in China, you will know how hard they work for this and fought for, they've been fighting for this, and how they risk their lives and safety to help dogs and cats. You will be like me, very hopeful and very committed to this mission.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt you've had a lot of milestone wins over the last 10 years, and including opening up a dog museum where people can come and interact with pets and understand their power and their love. Because in some cases, that's just not a common thing in especially rural communities, I imagine. Um, and you've also brought the conversation to the forefront with your idea around compassion cities, really helping cities celebrate when they commit to following the law and implementing the law and refusing to allow restaurants and establishments who practice this awful pattern. So we know the law is there. We know it's not being enforced in many cases. And so it sounds like you're doing a two-prong approach of penalizing them by executing lawsuits when the law is broken, but also celebrating compassion cities who take the initiative to reject or to drive out that tradition in their community. Can you talk to us about compassion cities and how you see that unfolding? I know that's getting to be an exciting point in unrolling your compassion cities.
Yes, yes. I'm very excited about this Compassion City campaign that we're rolling out soon because we've been preparing for this project, but China has locked down, so we couldn't do it. Now we are really getting ready to build our first Compassion City. We have the city chosen, and we have the team built up, and we're just trying to raise more funds so we can do it. What the Compassion City is about is we are going to bring in. We work with local government. We tell them, hey, listen, we're gonna bring in a team of a veterinarian. We train your local vets so they can do spay and neuter for your stray dogs to take care of the street animal problem for you, so you don't have to kill them brutally on the street. That's what they've been doing. They kill the strays with a big stick on the street. So and then we will bring in the animal control system. We give you the truck that pick up the stray humanely and will help you run the shelter. So we're bringing the whole 9 yards of animal care system from America to your city. And then we're also going to build a compassion center for you to offer to your volunteers in your city. It doesn't have to be dogs and cats related. It can be any kind of volunteer work they do, have a place to hang out. So we build your city as a compassion city, and all we want in return is there will be no dog meat restaurant or no dog meat sales in your city. So that we have one city that we're going to work with, and I think we do this one city at a time, and it will be very very successful, effective in terms of ending the dog and cat meat trade.
And I know this, Andrea, because I've been working with you on strategic planning. So I get the inside. I get to dig in there and see all that you have in store for this mission to continue to fast track it. And I know that the compassion cities is a top priority. And I love this notion that you have that is developing where we can really celebrate those cities even more by even inviting tourists to come and celebrate those cities too, and make it a really sexy and exciting chance to help them build their economic development and welcome international visitors. We're all praying for the day when our relationships are better all over the world, where we can think through that to build peace, because that's what this is really about for you. Is it's peace for these animals, it's peace for the Chinese people, and it's peace for our relationships around the world. Would you agree with that seems to be one of your driving motivations?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Because one one of the challenges, I think some of the animal people will face the same challenges. People sometimes challenge us that why are we helping animals, not help people, right? And especially like our mission, we even help dogs in China, not in our backyard. So, but it, to answer the question and the challenging, and your question is based on the same belief I always have, that I believe dogs and cats are a gateway to compassion and empathy world. So if a person don't like dogs and cats, they don't like other animals, and they won't even care about compassion and empathy, right? So by doing our mission in China through dogs and cats, and China has 1/4 population on Earth. So if we can just change just a small percentage of population there to be more compassionate, I think we have helped humanity in a big way. So that's I firmly believe what we do is very valuable and promote peace too. Yeah, if you everybody compassionate and everybody will love peace, and we'll have a peaceful world, peaceful society.
Yeah, I'm just sharing the website if folks want to learn more. I just you have such a strong tactical game on the ground in China, and your donors all over the world. I know I'm going to be seeing you next month in the UK. We're going to be spending time in England with supporters. You're doing an event there to bring the message and to bring updates and the vision for the future. You're going to be sharing your strategic vision with your supporters in the UK. I'm looking forward to being with the community then.
Me too.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time doing important work. We can do both things. We can do both things. Andrea, growing a mission, you had said earlier that there were years where you feel, it certainly felt like you're running around like a chicken with its head cut off. Not a great saying, but I think, wearing many hats. I like to think about whack-a-mole. Do you ever remember that game that's how I felt like that for years at one point. But that's not unusual, right? When you start a business, when you start a mission, you are doing those startup things. And there is just a period of hustle in that. We know that because talking to so many nonprofit leaders, certainly over the 30 years I've been working with organizations, and a lot of the thinking behind my quiz, what type of fundraiser are you? The truth is there is a hustle phase to launching and growing. What I've seen and experienced, and I'm hopeful you'll be able to speak to this a bit, is the shift that I've been able to witness over the period of time we've been working together is by grounding into defining that strategy, has given you the messaging to be even more bold and brazen. You are an amazing fundraiser because you're just so compelling and so passionate about what you do. How has strategic planning helped in prepping for the UK and your fundraisers coming up? Have you felt that strategic planning has made a difference for you in the mission?
Oh, yes, absolutely, 100%. You call the first uh, phase, what do you call that?
The hustler. You know what else I call it, Andrea?
Uh-huh.
The nonprofit martyr.
A mother, right? But you know what? I used to think that I'm the firefighter, right? I put out fire all the time. Okay, the small fire, there's a big fire. So I was a firefighter, so busy putting out fires, and I didn't get to do things that's more important. So I think your strategic plan is very simple and precise. You know me. I like simple things because I have simple mind. Because I never wanted to do a strategic plan before, even though I know it's important, this and that. But when I look at them, I was like, oh my God, I was so overwhelmed. I couldn't understand. I didn't want to do it. And then I didn't see the benefit of having it for a small nonprofit like us, right? So when you show me your strategic plan, it's so easy to follow and so straightforward. So I thought, and it is so helpful because you break down into so many different important categories that to show it to me that I know you don't want to deal with board at this time, but look, this is how you do it. It's simple and this is important. So those kind of things really change my perspective with a lot of things that help me to run the nonprofit more efficiently.
Yeah, I love to hear it. I've seen you shift some of you think a lot about growing the fundraising as a path to growing the team, and you've been able to make some shifts in the last year, bringing on some help and delegating and automating some of the outreach. And I've seen you put more and more of your time. I know you're very focused on corporate sponsors and major donors and meeting new people out in the world that might be interested. And you've had some success through, and I want to speak to this because I love this call to action. And I know this isn't your priority call to action today. I know we're going to talk about some other opportunities to go to your website, to download the information sheet on what's happening in China around this tradition that continues in it way too often. You have invited people and educated people even through petition signing. I love that you take this American history of protest and applying it, and the amount of people who respond, hey, I want to help. How can I put my name on this? How can I learn more? Is just outstanding. I mean, millions and millions of people have reached out to you to say, I want to be in your community. I want to be on your team. That's a great responsibility, I imagine. I don't have millions of people following me yet, Andrea, but I imagine that's a big responsibility.
Yeah, I think petition is a very good way to collect emails from people who really care about your cause, because you want to reach out to people. Someone said reach out to people who at least raise their hand, like, hey, I care. You don't want really to waste your efforts on people who don't care. And the people who care is they sign the petition. But so start any kind of petition is good, but make sure you start from your own platform and don't start it with from other people's platform, because once they change their policy, you can lose your email. Just like social media, Facebook, they change their hours and then you use a lot of things. So start the petition through your own website. Control your petitions.
Yeah, such a great you had such success with it and learned along the way that well, digital community building, as we like to say it, and the Magnify Your Mission world is essential and is foundational to your growth trajectory. You have to be smart about it. You own email addresses that people give you. Other than that, the content that you're putting out in the world belongs to, as you said, the various platforms, a social media platform. So, but certainly just a measure of how passionate people are and how much confidence they have and what you've accomplished so far in this vision, in these tactics that you're really spelling out very clearly. And I'm excited because a big win in showcasing this topic, spotlighting this issue, we have a big mainstream win we're going to be learning more about and celebrating soon, which is a major motion picture coming out. Can you tell us a little bit about how people might be learning more about this tradition um, in pop culture?
This movie is called A Dog's Tale, a Chinese version. It's this movie was made. America made an American version called A Dog's Tale from the Japanese version, and the story is based on a dog who loved his dad and he goes to the train station waiting for his dad to come home from the train. And one day the dad got heart attack and died in hospital, never came back. But the dog was always there. He didn't want to go home because he didn't see his dad. So people started to feed him and stuff. Then when the dog died, they built a statue at the train station. So when you go to Japan, I forgot the name of the city, you will see that dog statues there. So the story was so touching. And Japanese made a movie first, and then the American made American version. Then Richard Gere was the actor. Then and I always wanted to make a movie like that in China, and which didn't have the means and resources to do that. And this year it was a movie just like that premiered at the end of March and was big was the actors and actresses were two big names, A-class stars in China. And I'm sure they do this because the love of dogs, because they don't have to do this type of the movie. And the best part of how they made the movie is they chose to do a few shots in the dog slaughterhouse, which has always been a taboo in Chinese society. They don't want to talk about dog meat trade because it creates controversial, and no one wants to touch anything that's sensitive. So for them to take the stand, filming it in the dog slaughterhouse, and used the local breed as the leading dog as the dog character, and also talk about how he was rescued from the dog meat trade was a big breakthrough. And I was just so happy and it shows that how people really care about this.
Yeah.
And they decided to be a little bit more brave to talk about it.
Well, I certainly can understand why people are so excited to understand the issue more and then do something about it. And if that's something you're interested in, go to the duoduoproject.org, check out, join the community by downloading the FAQ sheet. Andrea, how else can folks get involved with the organization? How can we help you?
I think, Amy, a lot of people, your clients or people listen to these podcasts, they are all in nonprofit. If you if you have any good contacts that you know people care about dogs and cats, and please send them over to me. We need connections. We need connection that we can deal with government more effectively, and we can. It just connection to us is very important. And the second thing is tell you, I know everybody is busy as a nonprofit leader, but every time you see your friends or anybody in your universe that love dogs and cats, and drop our name to talk about what we do, and that would be a big help.
Yeah, and join the movement. Join the movement,
Yeah.
and the best way to do that is to head over to the website and get the information so that you can stay in touch with Andrea, learning about the mission. May and June are big months. You've got a gala coming up at later this year. The momentum is palpable, and I just really have so much respect is watching you as a leader, Andrea, not just because of the urgency of this issue, which is paramount, but also just the courage you bring to your work every day, the vulnerability you bring to your work so that you can get the information, the resources, the knowledge, the people you need to stay focused on being successful. And I'd put my money on you any time, Andrea. You're an amazing leader, and the world is better off for having you in it. So thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
We'll see you soon. Thanks for joining us today, Andrea. Good to have you.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you all for joining us today, learning about different nonprofit leaders' journey, their path to magnifying their mission, growing their community, their impact, and their peace of mind without the stress. If you're interested in working with me, feel free to reach out. Check out my website at amyfazio.com. And remember, well, changing the world is hard. Fundraising doesn't have to be. Thanks so much to Andrea for joining us and sharing her very important work and her story. Have a great day.